Okay, so here I am editing, and I'm realizing I never even explained how I broke my hand in the first place, like in depth at least. So here it is, the story of how I broke my hand. Oh my god, I'm so scared. So I went skiing twice over this past Christmas break when I was back in Canada. So first time was all easy breezy. There were no issues, really good conditions. And then the second time I went, the conditions were just awful. Like it was icy, it was hard for me to ski. Now, I'm not a pro skier, but I definitely think I'm like average, if not better than average. So I can do a black diamond. It's tough. I don't enjoy doing it, but I can do a black diamond. So basically I started off the second time, my second evening skiing. I thought, hey, I'm not gonna wear a helmet because it was so easy last time and I hate wearing it because I can't hear. So I was like, oh, I'll not wear it. But then I was getting really nervous because I was going down hills that I've had no problem going down before, and I was having a really tough time. So I ended up going back to the lodge and putting my helmet on, thank God. But yeah, I was skiing with my friends who were like really advanced skiers, so they kept throwing me on these hills that I was like, okay, I can do this, but I'm suffering. Most of them I could handle, like most of them were fine. I think I was only thrown like on 2 or 3 that I was like having difficulties with. I'd only fallen once before that day. We were on a terrain hill and I was like trying to do jumps and stuff, and I was getting pretty good at it, and then I got cocky and I ended up flying off of this jump and losing control and kind of spinning out. And it was no biggie, like you fall when you're skiing, it's no big deal. But I was like, oh man, I fell, and it was like in front of all my friends, so I was like, ha. Oh, embarrassing. But it was fine, no problem. Just got some snow in my, you know, snow pants, whatever. I think though, after you fall once, you're kind of shook up. Like even if it was no big deal, you're just kind of like, oh, I fell. Now everything is like, every time your ski catches, you're like, so anyways, so I had fallen that one time, and then the rest of the hill, like the night went on and it was fine. Then it was the last hill of the night. And of course my friends were like, haha, let's do this Black Diamond Hill. And I was like, and at this point, one of our friends had already gone off because the conditions were so bad. Like we were all just like having a tough go. But my friends were like, you know what? Let's do this Black Diamond Hill. And at this point, I was too far down the Black Diamond Hill to just get up and continue down like the easier one. So I was like, hey, I was like, I have no choice but to go down this hill or like take my skis off and hike up and get on the other hill. So I'm sitting there and I'm like trying to hype myself up to get down, and I was like, it's no big deal, like no worries, it's fine. So I watched all of my friends go down the hill. I watched all 4 of them go down in front of me, and I was like, okay, here we go. So I head down the hill, everything's fine, it's no big deal. I'm doing like big old, you know, S's, trying to be safe, pizzaing it all the way down. And then because the conditions were so bad and the hill looked just so unkept, it looked like whoever was skiing on it before, when they crossed their skis over, they created like moguls on the hill. So I ended up losing control because of the moguls, and it was just so steep because it was a black diamond. So I lost control, and I was like, oh my god, oh my god, oh my god. But like I wasn't worried. I was just like, try to gain control, but it's like if you fall, you fall. So I was like, okay, like if I fall, I'll just bail out and end up having to, you know, be fine just down the rest of the hill. But I was like, no, I can control this. Like I don't need to fall, it's fine. And so I did. I finally caught control again. And then I looked down at the hill that I'm going pretty speedy now because I've just caught control again. And there's a huge ditch in the hill. Here's the hill. Here's me skiing down my S's. Then I hit the moguls. Boop, 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 boop. Just catch control, and there is literally a ditch running right across the hill like this. Like you can see the grass. It was a ditch. So I literally saw it and I was like, it's over. That's it for me, because I was going smoothly over the first part, like the first dip of the ditch, and then my ski tips caught the opposite side of the ditch and sent me flying down the hill. I don't mean across the hill. I don't mean like this. I mean, my ski tips caught and I went flying down the hill. Lost my skis, lost my poles. Here I am. My goggles have fallen off my helmet. I couldn't breathe, so I was trying to sit in a position that would help me breathe. So I was like on all fours, and then I was on my butt, and then I was on my side. I was like trying to figure out how I could catch my breath. And the whole time I'm just sitting there trying to compose myself. So I was just like, like trying to chill out on this hill. Every time I turn my head, I can hear my goggles flapping, so I'm like, ugh, that's annoying. I went and I lifted my hand up to try and grab them and pull them forward, and as soon as I got my hand up here, it was like hurting really, really, really bad. So I just kept doing this to try and like get feeling back in my hand, because I thought, oh, maybe I just, you know, hurt it a little bit, like it'll be bruised or something. Little did I know. So I was doing this with my hand, trying to get it all sorted and whatever, while I'm trying to breathe and stuff. Yeah, it was really, really bad. And then I realized, you know what, I'd lost my skis, I'd lost my poles. There's no way, like I'd have to hike up the hill to find them. At that point, I was just trying to catch my breath. Like I was like waiting for my friends to come back up, but they didn't realize that I had fallen because they had gone before me. They did not see me fall because they were trying to maneuver the hill themselves. Like my advanced friends were having trouble on that hill. That's how bad the conditions were. Getting really heated about it. I don't have any energy to like yell at my friends. I like literally don't know what I'm gonna do, and I'm like, why are they not coming up to help me? Like I'm just panicked and I'm shaking, and my ribs are killing me and my hand is killing me. And then I look up to the lift and these snowboarders are like, do you need help? And of course I'm an idiot and I was like, no, I'm fine, don't worry about me. And they were like, we saw you fall. And I was like, oh my God. And so they were like, do you want us to grab your skis? I was like, yes, please grab my skis. So they ended up coming down and helping me. And I can like barely even remember what they looked like because I like didn't want to make eye contact with them. I was so embarrassed. And then they came down with my skis and they were so nice. And I was like, I hurt my hand. Like I can't. I was just like so shook up. So I look behind me and I see the snowmobile with a little bobsled behind it, that like bright orange in your face bobsled. And I was like, oh my God, they're gonna take me down this hill in that bobsled. No. Anyways, I'm in the middle of this hill, and then eventually I'm sitting there with the snowboarders who were so nice. Shout out to them. If they ever see this video, please find me on social media. I love you. But yeah, all of my friends ended up coming up, and I remember seeing them, but I don't remember talking to them because by that time the medic was there and he was talking to me. So I'm like answering questions, and then he asked me things. He was like, do you remember who you came with? And I start listing them off, and then there was one person I couldn't remember, and I was like, who did I come with? It was a real moment for me. I was like, oh my God, I can't remember who else I'm here with. It was awful. So yeah, he ended up putting me in the bobsled, and my friend brought my skis and my poles down. So sad. But I remember just being there in the bobsled and reciting my name in my head, my parents' names, my brother's name, my dog's name, and I was like trying to remember everything I could about my life because I was like so worried that I had like knocked myself so hard that I had some crazy concussion. Oh my God, it was really, really awful. And I got out of the thing and I was like, my hand really hurts, my ribs kind of hurt. They checked me out in the first aid. They're really nice. They like are giving me oxygen, and they put my hand in a sling. I'm just like, oh my God, here I am, this huge hassle. Like I just felt ridiculous because I was like, why does this have to happen to me? Like why do I have to make this huge hassle for everybody else? So I was there in the first aid and he gave me the go ahead. He was like, just make sure you get to the hospital. And I was like, sure. But I was in the States, so I was like, there is no way I'm going to a hospital over here. I have to get over the border, which is fine, but it's like a 2-hour drive. I ended up puking in the car twice on the way there. And it's funny because I was like doing fine, and then all of a sudden I got really, really, really sick. My friends were talking about like beef jerky and just like all this gross stuff, and I was like, please stop. But I couldn't say anything. I like couldn't even talk. I was just like, like literally dead. And I was trying to like brush off the feeling of being sick, so I didn't want to say anything. I didn't want to be like, hey, like you should pull the car over, just because I didn't want to stop. I just wanted to get to the hospital as soon as possible. And then I was like, we should pull over. And he was like, what? And I was like, we should pull over. And he was like, okay. And then he went to pull over, and it was like, I was like, oh, I was sick all in this bag and like all over myself, and this poor seatbelt. I was like, oh no, I'm like puking in your car. I was like, don't worry, you don't have to call my parents, guys. We can wait till we're over the border. Like, we don't need the charges. And then my friend ended up calling my parents, and they were like gonna meet me at the closest hospital, which was in Niagara Falls. And I can just like picture how stressed they were when they got that call. Can you imagine just like sending your daughter off to go skiing and then getting a call at like 12 at night, like, hey, so we're going to the hospital. They must have been so panicked. And then we kept driving, and after I was sick, I was like, yeah, I feel fine. Like that's what was much better. But then it came in waves. It was like every time I was sick, I was like, yes, this is great. I feel so much better after I get sick. And then I would get really sick again. And so I ended up puking up some more in the car. And he was like, the driver, Justin, was like, should I pull over? And I was like, no, get me to the hospital now. I don't know what these hand movements are. We get to the border. The lady like barely asks us any questions, does not care that I look like I'm half dead. So we got across the border, and everything's just kind of silent in the car at this point because I'm like dying. I'm trying not to fall asleep, right? Because they're worried about me having a concussion. So they're like, don't fall asleep. And so I told my friend, I was like, make sure I don't fall asleep. And he was in the back like watching my eyes because I kept like closing my eyes. I was so exhausted. And then we finally got to the hospital, and like, everybody was just, I could tell everybody was so shook up. And I like got out of the car, just was a zombie, like absolute zombie. I got out of the car, I was like, thanks guys. Walked into the emergency room, sat down, and I was like, nobody talk to me, I can't talk. Like my dad was trying to ask me a question, and I'd be like, stop. And then this lady across from us was being really nice, and she was talking to me, and I was like, no. And then she was talking to my parents, and even so I wanted to be like, just stop talking. And then my mom was like, she was like, oh, it was full mama bear mode. She was like, where is the nurse or whatever? So we ended up getting in pretty quick, I think. For like ER time, we got in pretty quick, but my mom was like really stressed about how long it was taking. And then finally they got me in and got me in like a room and got me checked out. I did a CT scan, a CAT scan, blood tests, the IV. I got an x-ray too of my hand. The whole left side of my body was in such pain. Like I couldn't even explain it. It was so bad. I couldn't even lay on my side. Like it was really, really, really bad. So they gave me Percocets, and then I was fine. I was like, yes, give me the pain meds. I've never felt so awful before in my life. Like that was probably the worst I've ever felt. But yeah, so we were in there all night, and my parents were exhausted. I could tell. I felt really, really bad. So here I am, just thinking I've sprained my hand. No biggie. The doctor came in and told me that I had broken the bones in my hand, and I was really, really, really upset because I really, really thought it was just a sprain. And I remember being like, if I've broken my hand, I can't compete. I've got competition this weekend, and I'm still doing it, which is awesome. But I was like, oh my God, I can't have broken my hand because I won't be able to compete in my dance competition. The doctor was really nice, and he gave me a cast really similar to this. It's like a plexiglass, and then he wrapped it. It was lovely. And then he booked me an appointment to go get my new hand, my new cast. He told me I'd broken my hand, and he said it was because it was twisting. So I think it's because I had them in fists holding my ski poles, and when I fell, I twisted it under me like this or something. But that's what they told me, and then they kept me overnight because they thought that I had an internal bleed that showed in one of the scans or something. So they had to keep me to do another scan in the morning. I slept through the night okay, but I was like woken up because the pain was so bad in my ribs. Like I couldn't lay on my side. It was like hard to find a comfortable position to fall asleep. Like I think I was just crying. I don't know, I'll have to ask my mom, but I was really in pain. So they had like given me more pain meds in the IV so I could sleep. Yeah, it was really nasty. That was my experience. Everything ended up okay. The doctors were really nice. The nurses were great. Yeah, I really can't complain. It's just an unfortunate event, but I think it makes a good story. Good life story. Good life lesson. Don't go on Black Diamond Hills if you aren't confident and it's really bad conditions that day. But yeah, so that is the story of how I broke my hand, which sucks. If anybody has any questions, pop them in the comment section. I will try my best to respond. Thanks to everyone for being so nice and worrying about me. It was really nice to see that people actually cared. But yeah, as of right now, I think I've got 2 more weeks and I should be out of a cast. So that's the story of how I broke my hand. I hope it was entertaining and super dramatic because it felt like a whole dramatic thing when it was happening. I'm sorry to everyone who was there skiing with me for totally ruining the night, and to Justin for puking in his car, and Rachel and Mateo, John and Devin. They were all just lovely to me, even though I screwed up the whole thing. Just wanted to give them a little shout out because they were awesome while I was sitting there taking up everybody's time on an oxygen mask in the first aid. Thanks again for watching. Bye!